your side on me. Girl, you just don't realize what you do.
Hi, good night, everyone. My name is Omar Kennedy, and I am one of the executive directors for Animekon. Animekon is a pop culture convention right here in Barbados in the Caribbean. And I'd like to start off by thanking the US Embassy to Barbados, Eastern Caribbean, and the OECS for inviting us to hang out, host this hangout, I'm sorry, that will show how STEM, which is a science, technology, and engineering and mathematics forum, it's all around us, and even in our favorite comics. I co-host Animekon and Melissa Young. Hi Mel. She is not here today. She's off and away in Jolly Old England, but she is here in spirit. One of the main purposes of this hangout is to promote Dr. Neil deGrasse Tyson's free public lecture on November 20th at 4:30 p.m. at the Lloyd Erskine Sandyford Center. This Google Hangout is part of the Embassy's larger discussion about promoting the importance of STEM education and opportunities for youth. During this hangout, we will be speaking with my esteemed colleagues, Mr. Michael Cobhan, who's an engineer. We have Ms. Tamara Alleyne, a blogger and online radio host, Mr. Marc Ottley. He is a computer programmer, and we want to thank the Mirror Powell for allowing us to use this fantastic location where we are right now. Before I get started, I'd just like to say that what we're looking to do is we're going to listen to some of Dr. Tyson's most interesting quotes. There are a lot of fantastic quotes he has. These are the most interesting in our opinion, which deal with comics, and deal with physics of the comic characters and whatever have you. But before I get started, as I said, I would like to, start off by saying, how much we love comics. We'll be going around the coach, talking about how we got started in comics. My love for comics started when I was about 4 or 5 years old. I had this cousin called Lance, and I adored him. Everything that he loved, I loved by proxy. And he was into comics. I remember my first comic I remember seeing was a Star Wars comic, and I remember seeing Chewbacca for the first time, and I was completely enthralled from then. And he taught me about Spider-Man and Vision, and from there it was all over. Comics was big for me. I'm 36. I know you can't believe it you're looking at me, but I've been enjoying comics over 30 years, and that's just my say on comics. Now off to Mr. Marc Ottley.
Like Omar probably started around 4. It's just that 4 is a longer time ago for me, so I really don't remember how I got started in comics. I've always had comics around me. What I call my collection, which now sits in endless boxes, has been going on for more than Omar's lifespan. And it's a lot that continues. I'm a lot more critical these days. I tend to be a grumpy old man about things in comics, so it's a perfect discussion for me. When they feel it's science, I'll call them. Yeah, I'm looking forward to this chat.
Hi all, my name is Tamara Alleyne, and I sometimes wear several hats. Tonight I'm wearing the hat of comic freak. So I actually am the owner of Thor Marketing. That's a marketing company here in Barbados, and I also involved in radio, online radio actually. I have an online radio called Beta Connection. We talk with Atlanta every Monday and Wednesday at 9:30 a.m. And right now, I just want to share a little bit with you about my childhood, which was awesome. First of all, the first comics that I remember reading were Conan comics, and I can attest to Mark's extensive, distinguished collection. It's awesome, and and of course, Animekon. I'm a huge fan. So yeah, definitely. I'm obsessed with X-Men comics too. So yeah, definitely. So guys, enjoy.
Good night, everyone. My name is Michael Cobhan. I'm also not sure how long I've been into comics. I just know that I can't remember a time when I have not been reading them. Used to pretty much pick up anything, read anything. I love the stories, I love the characters. As time went on, I started to focus a bit more. Marvel, Image, Spider-Man especially is one of my all-time favorite characters. Thing is, I had actually given up comics for a little while and recently got back into collecting and reading them. So, whereas I was a lot more forgiving of the fantastic nature of them when I was younger, I find myself a lot more discerning now, and a lot more picky as I watch it, especially with the recent influx of comic book movies that we may have. I like to see physics that goes on these days.
So you're a Marvel man.
All right. I hope you enjoy our discussion.
Okay. I think we're going to have a fantastic coach session today, or tonight, I should say. And the first clip we're going to have is going to be on one of the most powerful artifacts in comics. I hope you guys can see this. This is a bobblehead of Thor. He's rattling, tapping the ball. And we're going to have a clip on Neil deGrasse Tyson, Dr. Neil deGrasse Tyson on Thor.
Proving once again why he's the internet's favorite scientist, astrophysicist and director of New York's Hidden Planetarium, Neil deGrasse Tyson, took to Twitter to weigh in on a classic comic technical question. How much does Mjolnir, Thor's magic hammer, weigh? Tyson reasoned that if Thor's hammer was indeed forged from a collapsing comics world, then it would weigh as much as 300 billion elephants, which, assuming maximum elephant weight, would be about 4.5 quadrillion pounds, which would explain why Hulk had trouble lifting it. Naturally, Tyson went on to back up his claim by displaying photographic evidence of having studied the real thing.
All right, so we've all seen the clip, and we are now going to have some discussion on Mjolnir, or commonly referred to as New Universe Thor movie. Now, if Mjolnir is indeed have the sort of weight and density of a collapsed star, there are lots of things you have to consider. First of all, collapsed stars often form black holes. And when you get an object which is so small, which is so dense, the hammer should indeed have properties of a black hole, or at least harness the properties of a black hole. Now, the thing about black holes as well is that they're practically invisible. That's the old theory. I hear there's some new theories on that right now, but they were said to be invisible because when light break at the black hole, when light shot at the black hole, the light could not escape. So you were virtually seeing nothing once the light crossed the event horizon. So what I want to know is what you guys think about having an object this dense being in the hands of someone. Should Thor actually be able to wield his hammer? Let's start with Mark, and he can also add on any extra physics he chooses to with regards to the hammer.
There's a basic rule I'm going to just discuss and then get rid of. That's not good enough. So, if it weighs that much, then yeah, it has immense local gravity. It should be millions when it passes nearby. It should be dropping through the crust of the earth because it just weighs so much as it's compressing it. I think the funnest imagination idea, if you could turn that on and off. So if you could make the gravity effect and have it go, so he flings it and the beverage building falls down when it passes by, or so it weighs nothing. Because there's magic involved in Mjolnir. So the magic hand wave is just part of the whole thing. There is a very vocal contingent of the interwebs, that is going to say the hammer is actually made of uru, which is a fictional metal that Marvel created, and so weighs about 43 pounds. But we're not talking about that for this discussion. Let's go with the neutron star. It's a lot more fun than imagination here.
Well, firstly, I want to say hi to Webs. I think that Dr. Tyson is such a rock star for comparing younger to elephants. Like 300
Are they not a standard unit of measure?
billion elephants?
5 times a peach, yeah.
My goodness. I'm like, okay, that's breaking it down for me. So, the other thing, one new theory about black holes is that it's actually supposed to be gray and black, which means you don't learn. It's really sick. I'm just saying, but now there.
Anything? Actually, a bit of piece of what we could digest shown. As we were saying, Thor can't lift the hammer, but apparently the helicarrier can because it did not drop to the floor, and the helicarrier also did not drop to the ground. So helicarrier is stronger than Thor. Apparently. Actually, in the same Thor movie, first Thor movie, they talk about Asgardian magic being a form of science. I think that's what it is. Science. I think at its resting state, its weight really is 3 billion elephants. Okay? But once Thor grasps it through whatever biometric reading, once it activates, there's a negation technology that allows him to lift it. So it will not weigh its full weight, still be heavy, but something more magical that Thor can spin and swing.
So that explains the inscription that whoever wields the hammer, meaning it is worthy of picking it up, which activates this technology and lets them lift it up. All right, that all makes sense.
I like to take a different approach. It's actually sort of similar to what Michael has said. Think of the hammer as an engine. Any sufficiently advanced technology is indistinguishable from magic, as Mike rightly said. So imagine the hammer as an engine of some sort. One, that the main focus of it, the main thing that it does is convert its weight into energy, right? Black holes suck in everything. There's no telling what's inside it. If you can harness the power of a black hole and you can channel it through this hammer, you have electromagnetic radiation, you have there's nuclear power in there, there's whatever have you, there's gravitational power. There's all these things that you can do with this hammer, and because Thor has some connection to it, I don't know, similar to how we press a gas pedal on our car to make it go forward. Thor has some connection to this hammer that he can control this black hole to open up wormholes to fly from one end of space to the other.
Which actually makes total sense with gravity.
Exactly, because black holes and gravity are synonymous. We have him being able to control weather. Gravity can also control weather patterns. Thor has an impressive array of blasts, from cosmic energy to eldritch energy to whatever, God knows what else. So I think of the hammer basically as a tool, like how you have a drill or a car or whatnot. It's just taking the form of a hammer. It's just a complicated machine. That's just one take on it. What do you guys think?
I like that idea a lot, man. I thought, no, going through it. So the weight isn't a burden of the hammer, it's its potential. This is how much effect the hammer can bring. Like that.
I think it's an interesting concept, and I actually haven't thought of that before. I think that the idea that the hammer encapsulates everything, all the characteristics basically of a black hole, is what gives it all the potential and all the effects that it will have on the outside world, on every object that it comes in contact with. I think that is really what is getting at, what that really gets to.
Another thing to with the, as Ollie said, with the hammer having vast potential mass, that's variable. This makes it a lot more devastating if Thor in a downward swing needs a lot more force. Introduce more mass to the hammer, crush whatever is he on. Another thing to to speak to how the hammer returns to me. What I was thinking was, let me not bite my tongue. Bioelectric magnetism. Right? Now, this is a field of study. Well, let me start off. When a current flows, a magnetic field is produced. Right? That's a given. Another given, our bodies, animals' bodies, living beings are able to produce a small electric charge. Right? Therefore, we're also capable of producing small electric field. So following technological theory, I'm thinking, once the biometric technology hammer is activated, it then also aligns itself to the user's bioelectric field. And then once thrown, the attraction protocols activate, and then the hammer is able to be attracted back to the user after being thrown. And this is actually not far-fetched. As I said, the theories that I just mentioned are known and explored. It's actually not totally far-fetched.
It's interesting that Michael just said that, because I was thinking, well, what the heck is Thor made? I can say heck, right?
Yeah.
He became the website. So I was thinking, what the heck is Thor made of? That's exactly what he was discussing just now. And I'm like, okay, electromagnetic, what?
Bioelectric magnetism.
Oh, bioelectric magnetism. Okay. So if it is that Thor has all of these capabilities within his system, then he has, I guess, in a way, created new laws of physics.
Well, that's the thing. What we were discussing before, it's not really so much that Thor himself has these abilities, but that the hammer is the abilities within the hammer. You see Thor with the hammer, flying, manipulating weapon. So to follow from what Omar was saying, if you imagine the hammer as an engine, then it's what's driving these additional powers that Thor has. Otherwise, Thor is running a mill to spectacular.
Well, I would like to add a bit more. I think a car is a fantastic thing to have, but it takes us to drive the car. And if you have a driver's license, you are able to handle the car. If you don't have a driver's license, you will not be able to handle the car effectively, probably.
You are not worthy.
You're not worthy. So anyone who is able to have this Asgardian sanctioned driver's license should be able to wield Thor's hammer. So when our father Odin says, I grant you the power of the driver's license, you can now drive Thor's car. And that's basically how you think of it. There's another talking point that we had, and this is fantastic, guys. What do you think about, in recent times, persons like Magneto have been able to overcome Odin's enchantments? I think Hulk also overcame it in space, I believe. I'm not quite sure how that worked out. But should purely natural forces, they say Hulk is just raw power. They say that Magneto can control the magnetic spectrum, which is also a big part in how black holes are function. Should Magneto, or say Graviton, who in its own right is just as powerful, even more powerful than Magneto, should they be able to wield such a powerful engine, although they do not have the Asgardian driver's license? Sorry, I put you guys on the spot.
It's a tricky question to answer. Marvel has a big thing on equivalence, meaning the different types of energies are just energy. So we're supposed to think, equivalent to Odin Force is the power cosmic, or Magneto's mutant control. So if he's strong enough to exert the same kind of level of control, then yeah, he should be able to deal with Odin Force levels of power. So it's just instead of E equals MC squared, it's equal V. It's just a different kind of E.
Just 1 second. So are you saying then, Mark, he may be a person who maybe knows how to drive the car, but does not have a license? So maybe he does not know everything to know about the car.
I think he's not starting the engine. he is rolling the car from external forces. So he's getting the car moving, but not by rolling the engine.
I didn't like that really, Mark. No, the thing is, when I was thinking about my views, I said, you know what? Can we actually confirm on this? I'm not sure. But as a Marvel fan, yeah. I automatically said yes. Yes, he does. So, you know, it's one of those things that, like Mark said, it's an external control over the actual being or object that, you know, might come into contact with. And I'm like, okay, yeah, that could work. That could work. He might not be able to turn on all the switches, but he might be on switch. That's the one switch you can turn on. So, yeah, I think that's it.
Yeah, especially in case of Hulk, as you said, Marvel pretty much levels out their concepts of energy, and they've been known that the Hulk radiates gamma radiation. So yeah, I mean, if Hulk is exerting himself and putting out that much energy, then it's possible that he could triple circuit.
Hulk's limits are repeatedly stated as unlimited. With enough time he gets rolling, he will keep getting stronger and stronger. So eventually, sure.
Definitely. Okay. I think we have spoken at length on the physical properties, and I hope you would have done Dr. Tyson proud with what we have spoken about. Now we're on to another powerhouse from the other of the big two. That would be the Man of Steel. We're going to have some physics on a gentleman who seems to completely ignore all physics. So in a few moments, we'll get a quick roll.
And they gave him great strength.
They gave him strength, but
informed by the biology of an ant.
The other thing is, if you look at it, sometimes he's able to do things that aren't that far off. His muscles are much weaker when he's the size of an ant, but then his fists have a smaller surface area, so the force per area that he can actually provide,
that would be the pressure.
The pressure would be exactly the same as the pressure that he would provide when he was normal size.
Okay.
So he's able to, say, punch his way out of a paper bag, which, believe it or not, turned out to be a crucial plot point.
Oh, wow, okay.
Stories.
I think James Cocalier knows way too much about superheroes.
He does know quite a bit. I feel like I know a fair amount, but he knows both the science and the stories dating back.
Well, I think we'd all have to agree that the most important superhero out there is Superman.
Yeah.
He's strong, he can fly, he's got all the stuff you really need.
He shoots lasers out of his face. He's very good at being a superhero.
The man can do it. And so I had a special sort of interview segment with author of The Physics of Superheroes, James Cocalier. So let's get right back into that interview and have him see what he says about Superman himself. So could you use physics principles to rate who the best superheroes are in terms of their power? I think it's got to be Superman.
Well, Superman practically violates every law of physics. He not only is able to ignore gravity, but apparently can push against something when he needs to accelerate while he's flying. So
he can just be floating in midair at some speed and then go faster.
Exactly right.
Without any propulsion.
There's an acceleration, but no force. And so
so that violates every known law of motion.
Yes, right from there.
Well, so does having bullets bounce off your flesh.
You know, in the early days of Superman, he got his strength and his powers from coming up from a planet with a larger gravity than Earth. So he was limited in the things he could do.
Let me ask you, could he fly on Krypton?
No, because on Krypton,
that was the heavy gravity.
That was the heavy gravity. So just as our muscles and skeleton structure are adapted to Earth's gravity, so when we go to the moon,
we're not quite flying, but we're doing pretty good.
We can leap a moon building in a single bound and lift moon cars over our heads that astonish the moon people.
Okay, that was a clip. It was a fantastic clip. Superman has more powers than Thor's hammer, as far as I can tell. It does come and go as the story needs it. One writer in one storyline, I think they said he's as strong as he needs to be. Similar to Hulk. So I guess as the story goes, Superman is strong enough to deal with that issue. Now, Superman has a lot of powers, as we just said, but we would like to talk about this 2 or 3 of them this evening. this strength. How is it possible that Superman, is it indeed possible for him to lift a mountain? Is it indeed possible for him to lift a building? These are physical substances that if you picked them up and held them, they would collapse under their own weight because the material that they are made of is actually not strong enough to sustain the actual mass of substance, which is, that's why you need in buildings load-bearing columns and whatnot. And you know, so when Superman takes these things and tilts them on site, you know, he thinks really should collapse on him. A popular theory is that he has, Superman is not actually that strong, but he actually has a form of telekinesis, so that when he picks up a building or an object sufficiently large, which does not have the strength to hold itself, his field extends across the entire thing he's lifting, so he's able to lift it and throw it and smash it into somebody. I just wanted to hear you guys, is this sound? Is there potentially another way to throw a building or whatever?
This is one of my biggest pet peeves in Superman. So in, I think it was Returns, when he caught the airplane, it's a fantastic scene on the movie, but it's ridiculous. He should have gone right through the plane when he's trying to hold it up its nose. So yeah, contact telekinesis was the magic hand in this case. It's acceptable. It's the only way that you can explain it really, really well, or at least it's the easiest way you can explain it really well. But you know, it's kind of a cop-out on saying that he's super strong if he's not. So they want to have it both ways. He's super strong and he extends that super strength to telekinesis. But if he's being telekinetic, then he doesn't really need the strength. So I think they should apply it more consistently, have it be strength, have it, you know, wreck things when it's needed, and, you know, pay more attention to the consequences of having that kind of strength.
What's that about over? I just have a question based on what you said. Is it possible, do you think physics behind it could work if, when Superman was actually catching the plane, if he was traveling at a speed slightly faster than the plane or slightly slower, could he then use his upward strength? Because he's not moving at a breakneck speed like this, he's moving at a relatively slow speed to the plane. Could he slow down the plane that way, or do you think the plane will still collapse?
He could until it came to the ground.
Very nice.
At the point at which you stop, the plane will keep going because it's on its own way.
Great.
Just while we're talking about Superman's strength, in the extremes you're talking about, if he's a strong, like bench pressing the planet for 5 days straight, which happened recently at the start of Marvel, when he punches things.
Not Marvel.
I mean, sorry, yeah, New 52. Sorry,
They're going crazy right now. They're going crazy. Riots in Australia.
Yeah.
Fires in Paris.
If he is that strong, his general use of his strength in the atmosphere would be devastating. Every time he punches stuff, there should be buildings falling and that kind of stuff. Not even getting to other theories that there would be atomic reactions when he punches stuff.
That is true.
So, yeah, I have a lot of issues with the way Superman's written and applied in terms of his powers. They really they do the hand wave a little too much.
Okay. Well, my question is, if they did it as realistically as you really think it should be, would it be super? I mean, like, you know, it's supposed to be super, right? He's supposed to have superpowers.
Much more interesting.
And then you have like the Hollywood effect. There's going to be special effects everywhere. Everything's going to look like, you know, storybook written. It's not going to be like real life. I mean, what's the point in having a superhero and making him realistic?
I make one demand on my superheroes, and that is internal consistency. If you're going to tell me that they're special in this way, it has to be that same way every time. And Superman is one of the flip-floppiest in terms of applying those rules consistently every time. And that's where the problem comes from.
Okay, is that really in terms of the storyline, or is it in terms of the writers, or is it in terms of the directors of the movie?
All, whoever's in charge does it their own way, and that's part of the problem.
But let's just say it passes through so many hands. It passes through so many hands. How can it then be consistent?
Spider-Man.
I believe that is a job of a good editor and a good editing team. I believe that you should not flip-flop because it upsets your audience. And while people say, well, Omar, you know, we were talking about comics, this is a guy who could pull the planet. If you're going to tell me a fantastic story, which is unbelievable, at least try to give me a semi-plausible reason for something like this being able to happen. Don't insult me. You're already insulting me by making me believe, because I do believe that Superman exists. I do believe that. At least make the fiction a bit more believable. Mike, you have to hear from you.
I won't show you. Everyone thinks Superman was not always so unbelievable. When he first started off, for such a boy scout, he breaking all the laws of physics makes him quite a rule. But he actually used to play by the rules. Superman didn't used to fly before. He just used to jump really, really far.
That is true.
And his density, his ability to bounce bullets off of his chest could be explained by his body converting the energy that he absorbs from the sun into mass, which our bodies do now anyway. But then being efficient with it, so that Superman doesn't just get fat or just doesn't, get bigger, but his body efficiently compacts this additional mass in to effectively make him denser. And then now to utilize it, his body metabolizes that mass back into energy to allow him to jump, to give him strength of his muscles, to lift heavy objects, to do whatever.
Now, you made an interesting point just now. I wanted to equate Superman and Krypton density back to Thor's hammer. For Superman to have such fantastic powers on Earth, whereas he would have none on Krypton, the density, the gravity on Krypton would have to be absolutely tremendous, akin to a black hole. So, but Krypton was not. So, and even so, if Superman is able to exert this sort of power and force while lifting something on the ground, the laws of motion, I think it is every, what is it? Any action equal opposite reaction. Thank you. So, if Superman, for example, can catch a train and have no effects on the street which obviously is standing, he has to have some serious power in his body. Meaning, what does that mean for Krypton? Krypton's very existence would be impossible in the realms of physics.
I don't tackle the Krypton question much. The thing is that everything that's come from Krypton has been extreme. We have the Super Dog, we have the Super Cat, we have Karen, all the other things that come from Krypton. But again, now that I'm thinking about it, how does Canada work? It's on Earth. They seem okay in Canada. How is that happening? So the consistency question comes back.
Now I'm gonna be a little naughty now.
Okay.
I want to know if there's consistency and inconsistency. But then,
Consistencies.
So consistently inconsistent means that anything goes. It doesn't matter trying to find powers because they could be absolutely anything at any time.
Which is what happens.
For me as a comic book reader, I can't deal with when I'm reading a comic over and over going forward. So it becomes an issue for me. I realize I'm being the grumpy old man here, but I am the old man here, so I'll take that as a right.
Another thing, so without some serious depressurization, I don't think Superman can exist on Earth. If we posit that Krypton was under such an immense pressure, now coming to Earth where our gravity is so much lighter, the Superman would just explode without some serious depressurization. And even if you give in that, he came as a baby, he was in a capsule, he could have been pressurized because they knew where he was going, yada, yada, yada. Kara and Zor-El, dog.
Crypto.
Crypto. Nothing else for crypto without the benefit of what? How many years it took Carlos capsule again, or without the benefits of the depressurization could exist on Earth without excluding.
Well, fair enough. Another question. Superman is a battery, and any battery which is used a lot, like my phone, which I'm always checking and heating up in my very hands, is it will get hot. But Superman, to do the things he does, he has to store tremendous amounts of energy. The energy he puts out has to go into these things. So if he lifts a 100-ton structure, he has to have enough energy and power within him to lift 100 tons. Now, he's a solar battery. How much energy does he have to be absorbing? I know human beings do have a lot of energy for potential to do work in themselves already. But how much power will he really need? Because he single-handedly can pull the moon. I've seen him, Wonder Woman and Green Lantern, pull the Earth in a JLA comic. He has to have some serious power in him. There's one thing with Green Lantern and his magic ring. Diana is ridiculous on her own. And there's Superman. How much energy can he really absorb? And if that is the case, should he not be radioactive, or should he not be blazing hot? Should he be overheating? Should he be a health hazard? Should he be radioactive? Should anyone around him be radioactive?
That's a fun question. And first of all, the thing that can't get out of my head all of a sudden is Superman should be part of it. But regarding how much, I mean, he's entered the core of the sun and continued to absorb energy there. So the scale on which he operates is immense. And given that he can operate at that scale, I'm going to forgive him for giving off heat because he can efficiently convert that energy. So it's a matter of efficiency. He's not losing any of the energy to heat when he's operating.
Okay.
He's using all of it for the purpose he wants to use it for.
I think you have to be careful in terms of rating Superman and his abilities and his powers and his body by what earthly rules dictate. What is his body made of? We have no idea. As far as I can tell, there's no breakdown as to his DNA anywhere. So it can be made of anything. It can be made of pure energy. It can be made of whatever it is, or it could be just his magic hand, just randomly passing over everything.
Magic
So,
hand, that's it.
I know, right? What can you do? So I think it's really important that we stick to the fact that he's different. We don't know what he's made of. Whatever he's made of is awesome. So
Yeah, I agree with the whole battery theory. A very efficient solar battery is what Superman is. How his body metabolizes and then reconverts that energy so that he can use it. Again, it's easy to explain. Aliens. But yeah, I have no problem with that. Again, it's one of the biggest problems is inconsistency with how this energy is then reused for his abilities.
I just want to say, I'm not a Superman fan per se, but my favorite Superman has been in Injustice, where he's been doing what I said, wreck and shop, where he applies that strength in the ways that make sense, that he just absolutely goes to town on whatever gets in his way. And that I find relatable when you're talking about someone who's strong and powerful as Superman.
Okay, well, thanks, guys. I believe that comes to the end of our hangout, and we would like to thank the U.S. Embassy, Bridgetown, Eastern Caribbean, OECS, and we would also like to also remind you all about the Star Talk free public lecture with Dr. Neil deGrasse Tyson, which will be at the Lloyd Erskine Sanford Center on November 20th at 4:30 p.m. Get there early. It's going to be a massive crowd. Dr. Tyson has a huge fan following right here in Barbados. So if you are coming, make sure that, yeah, sorry. Yeah, Mark's not going to be here. Right, so make sure you get there early, get your seats. It's going to be fantastic. On behalf of myself, Omar Kennedy, and Melissa Young of Team Animekon Expo, we have Marc Ottley, Tamara Alleyne, Michael Cobhan, we have Romero Powell, who is somewhere knocking around, Crystal Norman, Camille Goodman. You guys have a fantastic night, and we want to see you there. See ya.
Aliens.